All right. So I actually showed that one live. I'm Skip Alzheimer, and welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show. So that's my handwriting. So I don't know. Oh, this is whoever's handwriting. I don't know where this came from. I think somebody got this at an estate sale and then passed it on to me. I'm not related to anybody here, and I think the person who gave it to me is not related to anybody here. But yeah, so we just played it back on the telecine, and I noticed that it was too fast at 24 frames a second, so I nudged it down to roughly 18. But I don't know if you noticed there were places where it was kind of like flashy, like stroby, and it was kind of this weird mesh. Either the person didn't load the film right, and it was off with the shutter, or there was a problem with the shutter on the camera. And I've run across that before, where it's just like, oh, that shot would have been beautiful, except it's missing. It's got that problem, and I've always tried to figure out a way to in post fix it. Like, is there a way that I can pick every so many frames where it doesn't have that, and then show, So anyways, there you go. Anyways, I'm Skip Alzheimer. This is the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films, and that was some home movies. It is Cinco de Mayo, but I'm not playing anything that's related to Mexico today. I'll show things about Mexico throughout the year, but just picking a special day to do it, I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. We can honor our Mexican neighbors in other ways. But anyhow, let's learn about monkeys and organ grinders. Enjoy.
What do you see, Coco? Huh? What do you see out there? Huh? We'll soon be there, Coco. Hmm? We'll soon be there. Okay, that's fine. When I was a little boy, I wanted to go. I loved to read about different countries, different peoples and all of that, so I left Liverpool, England, and landed in Quebec, Canada. 18 years old, and I didn't know a soul.
Hey, that'd be great.
And then I went from job to job, from place to place, and I just was a kind of a rolling stone. But at that time, I was not happy. I really haven't had this feeling that I have now until I got the little monkeys. They really taught me how to live, really. loco is trained to tip his hat for silver. He will not tip his hat for pennies. You can't fool him because he's been doing this for so long that he's just an expert at it. He doesn't do it just by pulling on the leash or anything like that. He just does it because he knows. He's a hard little worker, ain't he, huh? He just is a hard little worker. Huh? And his pockets get too heavy, see? So we've got to empty his pockets. Otherwise he can't stand up. Huh? Okay, now he feels better now. Now he feels a lot better now. Don't you? Huh? Now this is a picture of Sam when he was working. This is quite a few years ago. And he's looks quite happy in this picture. This is a picture of Pepper. Pepper was a good monkey and he's 8 years old. But he got sick and so we had to put him away because he wasn't getting well again. Well, don't you want your pants on today? Huh? Charlie Brown. Come on. Yeah. Well, come on then. Huh? Yeah. Monkey is a hard thing to train. Charlie. He's too wise for one thing. He just don't want to learn because if he learns something, he knows that he'll have to do it again. Come on now, let's get the pants on. Let's get the pants on now, Charlie Brown. Come on now. Come on, Charlie, here's your pants. Here now, come on. You gonna put your leg in the pants? Huh? You gonna put your leg in the pants? Come on. Huh? You just have to be patient. I'm gonna put them over there. I come and go as I please. Just, maybe that's why I'm so happy about it. I just, get my little monkey ready and And off I go. My monkeys and feed them and clean them and give them exercise.
Does look very clean. What do you do? Do you stick them in a bathtub? Or?
No, you can't give a monkey a bath. They're afraid of, that's one thing they're afraid of is water.
Oh.
These little boys.
Is it a monkey?
Huh?
A monkey.
Yeah, that's a monkey.
What's his name there?
His name is Coco.
Coco.
Can you say Coco? Huh?
Hi,
He
Coco.
won't hurt you. He likes little
Shake
boys.
hands with the monkey, Rodell.
Hmm?
Tell the
He
monkey
likes
hi.
little boys.
Hi.
You know that?
Shake hands
Don't
with
he?
Coco, brother.
Come on, Coco.
No, he was
Shake
go-
hands with Shirley.
he was
Hi,
go-
Coco.
You laugh, you know that? You laughed out. Come on, boys, let's go.
Coco. Coco, what's his name? Hi.
This one is Coco.
Hi, Coco.
This one is Coco. A lot of people don't know what an organ grinder is anymore. There's only a half a dozen altogether in the United States.
Just like an old man.
In a few years' time, there just will not be any more little monkeys to entertain people.
Look at those eyes. So romantic eyes, don't you, kid?
She has a lot on her tablet. Look, this is her diary. Read it, read it, read it, please. The whole family dishonored by a worthless slut.
Today at last it happened. We were in the midst of all this now. Please, what is going on?
Nothing at all. They're all in there.
I see. So where-
Well, if I didn't have these three monkeys, I sure would be lonesome because you get so used to having them with you all the time that I really wouldn't know what to do with myself. You gonna go to bed now, Coco? Huh? Are you? Gonna go to bed now? Huh? You might turn the light out, Coco? Huh? Hmm? You gonna go sleep now, Coco? Hmm?
So this must have been a big deal because Encyclopedia Britannica had this film, but also Coronet had their own version of a film about a monkey and an organ grinder. So something must capture the imagination of kids back then, to where they wanted. It was so popular, like, you know, schools were asking for, we want footage of a monkey and an organ grinder. It's very strange. All right, let's see, what do we got set up here? So many things. What is a bird? Really? What is a bird? Enjoy.
The gull is a fitting symbol of more than 9,000 different species of birds that have made a success of survival in a wide variety of environments. It is at home in the air, as well as on the ground, or in the water. A warm-blooded vertebrate with a covering of feathers. This is one of the classic definitions of a bird. What isn't generally realized, however, is that the light, fluffy feather of a bird is closely related to the scale of a reptile. In fact, feathers have the same chemical composition as scales. This has given rise to the expression that birds are glorified reptiles. A comparative study of living reptiles and birds and the fossil remains of their prehistoric ancestors indicate similarities of evolutionary development. For instance, the skeleton of one of these ancient reptiles, the Ornithosuchus, bears some striking similarities to the skeleton of a bird. This reptile walked on its hind legs and had a pelvic bone very much like that of the earliest known bird, the Archaeopteryx, meaning ancient winged one. This extinct bird of the Jurassic period possessed many reptilian features. The bird-like lower jaw had small teeth. The evolution of the bird's beak had not been completed. The vertebrae of the pelvic region and backbone had not yet fused. Also, the Archaeopteryx had a long bony tail, which had persisted from its reptilian forebears. However, the Archaeopteryx did have wings, equipped with 3 unfused digits, or claws, which had persisted from earlier forms. Bones and wings further adapted to requirements of flight, as evidenced in this skeleton of a present-day pigeon. Many of the larger bones of a bird are hollow and light. Similarly, increased lightness results from the reduction in size of the jawbone and the absence of teeth. The present-day bird has a beak. A large keel on the breastbone acts as an anchor for the muscles of flight. Air sacs located in many parts of the body provide for improved respiration and lightness. But lightness alone is not enough to sustain a bird in flight. Flying is a strenuous activity. To support the faster metabolism necessary to sustain flight, a 4-chambered heart evolved from the 3-chambered heart of the reptiles through the development of a complete partition between the ventricles. The cerebellum is more highly developed in birds than in reptiles and mammals, and is related to swift control and balance during flight. Wings attached to the bird's center of gravity also help it achieve balance. The cross-section of a bird's wing would look like this. We call this shape an airfoil. As the streamlined wing moves rapidly along, air rushes over both the top and bottom surfaces. Because of the curvature of the upper surface of the wing, the air along this surface has to move faster. This creates lift. The shape of the bird further helps it maintain flight. Its body is so built that it reduces wind resistance. To further cut down wind resistance, the legs of the bird are pulled up close to the body when the bird is in flight. To protect its delicate eyes from wind and dust during flight, without interrupting vision, birds are equipped with a nictitating membrane, shown here in freeze-frame photography. This thin covering constantly cleanses the eye, yet, unlike the eyelid, does not cut off vision. A covering of feathers not only has the advantage of lightness, but also serves as insulation from cold and heat. In this laboratory setup, we can watch this bird ruffle its feathers as protection against the cold of the surrounding ice. Ruffling of feathers increases dead air space around the bird's body, thereby insulating it from the cold. Besides these special properties of feathers, some species exhibit their feathers as a sex display. Others have feathers that naturally blend with the color of the surroundings, concealing them from enemies. Note how the pheasant's feathers help it hide among the fall leaves. All through these evolutionary stages, birds continued to lay eggs, like their reptilian ancestors. In this way, the young could develop outside the mother's body, leaving her unburdened for flight. After the eggs have hatched, the mother bird can leave its young and fly off in search of food. Unlike reptiles, most birds incubate their own eggs. When laying the eggs, the incubating parent sheds many breast feathers. Thus exposed, the skin becomes inflamed and warms the eggs for proper development. Along with laying eggs, a nest-building instinct evolved. Some birds, such as the robin, build a new nest for each clutch of eggs, even when there is an old, unused nest nearby. Certain other birds, such as the osprey, maintain the same nest year after year, usually at a site which affords a commanding view for its predatory eye. Some swallows build their nests at the end of tunnels they dig in banks of earth, hence their name, bank swallows. This nest in a dead tree stump belongs to a tree swallow. Not all birds, however, build nests. The cowbird leaves its speckled eggs in other birds' nests. Unknowingly, the parent robin will hatch the cowbird eggs and feed the young along with its own. Parental feeding of the nesting young is instinctive. Most newborn nesting birds are unable to feed themselves and would die if left unattended. Some birds, however, can feed themselves shortly after hatching. Usually, we associate birds with flying. But not all birds fly. Flippers help the penguin get about on land as well as underwater. Indeed, the flippers make it possible for the penguin to literally fly underwater. The wings of this bird also have lost their original function. But the ostrich has another adaptation to life as a land animal. The foot of the ostrich is almost hoof-like, having only 2 of its original 4 toes. This type of foot and its very elongated legs enable the ostrich to move easily over hard ground. These adaptive features have made the rhea, a South American relative of the ostrich, a fast-moving target in the gaucho's favorite sport of throwing the bola. The duck is adapted to life on another substratum. Webbed feet enable it to paddle about with ease and speed. The jacana's feet enable it to literally walk on water plants, where it can find many kinds of insects to feed upon. These toes, 2 in front and 2 in the rear, help the woodpecker cling to tree trunks where it can find food. Talons like these, sharp and strong, enable the hawk to be one of the top carnivores in the environment in which it lives. Talons and hooked beak enable it to catch and tear at the flesh of its prey. The parrot's beak is adapted to a function indirectly connected with food gathering. It helps the parrot to move around on tree limbs where it usually lives. The flamingo's bent bill, however, is adapted to another means of food gathering. This bird obtains its food by straining plankton and worms from the soft mud of the marshes in which it makes its home. The pelican is an example of a bird uniquely adapted for its dependence on fish. Its great wings and bill pouch enable it to carry off whole fish that it catches. Possibly most distinctive of all is the tube-like beak of the hummingbird, which enables it to draw in the nectar from flowers. In every environment, niches will be found that are filled by birds. In each case, these birds are uniquely adapted by beak, size, coloration, feet, and other aspects of their body plan. Also, each species of bird is adapted to survive by behavior patterns that are inborn, such as the killdeer distracting its enemy by feigning injury in order to protect its nest. Many species use songs to mark off territories wherein each male bird seeks to maintain its own ascendancy, warning off competing birds and attracting potential mates. Others perform elaborate ritual dances. By this annual dance, the male sharp-tailed grouse competes for first choice of the hens. Instinctive behavior patterns characteristic of each species of bird include those for nesting, care of the young, and, in the case of the wild goose, migration. Migration is the seasonal passage of birds from one region to another. This seasonal phenomenon is the subject of much study. What factors trigger this behavior? For example, is the changing length of daylight a factor? Are changes in the conditions of the reproductive organs a factor? In this laboratory, the daily hours of light and dark can be regulated. The relationship between the length of daylight and the seasonal habits of the birds is studied. The birds in these cages are bobolinks, a migratory species. Here, a variety of phenomena related to migration habits are investigated. The problem is to learn the relationship, if any, between the period of light and the condition of the reproductive organs. This bird is being anesthetized for a smear test of sperm to see how far the sperm have matured. Such maturation of the sperm and the accompanying increase of body fat are signs of approaching readiness for migration. What exactly triggers a mass migration of birds over a large geographical region is still the subject of continuing research. Readiness for migration is also studied in this experimental setup. These interconnecting cages are so constructed that they face in all major directions of the compass. Every time the bird enters any one of the cages, its entrance is counted. As the period of migration approaches, the bird tends to enter one cage more frequently, indicating the probable direction of migratory flight. Many questions are still unanswered. How do birds find their way during migration? Are they sensitive to the magnetic field of the Earth? Have they some other means for orientation? Do they navigate by the sun and stars? Many experiments are being conducted in search of a better understanding of migration and other aspects of bird behavior.
So I was like, why is the audio coming and going? And then I looked at the screen and I saw the thing to the left, and that is water damage. So essentially this film at one point was maybe submerged, maybe Hurricane Fran. I had a bunch of films that were lost, and this one might have survived, but that's what it was. That water damage, and it probably caused the film to move in the gate, so the soundtrack was probably coming and going. Sigh. That's what happens when we have a hurricane. And it was not at this location, it was at a previous location where I was renting, and the power went out, and so the sump pump went out, and I lost a couple hundred films. Very sad. Then I had to get on a plane and go to San Francisco, and had to pack dirty clothes because we didn't have any power for like days, and I had to do laundry at the hotel. So, crazy times. All right, so behind me is a telecine, and we have a film set up. And this is part of a series which we've shown some others, where celebrities read stories. And this one, and these are celebrities like from the late 60s. I feel like this is Dick Goodyear. I'm not sure. But anyways, here's Henri's Walk to Paris. Enjoy.
The book I'm going to read you is called Henri's Walk to Paris. Oh, Henri is a French name, and it means Henry. Here we go. This is Henri. Henri is reading about Paris. Henri does not live in Paris, but he wishes he did. Henri lives in Reboul. Reboul is a little city near Paris. Henri lives in a nice house with flowers at the window and a good soup on the stove. Henri's mother and father are very good to Henri. Outside, Henri's house is nice too. It is little and white. Henri has 3 good friends: André, Jacques, and Michel. Henri tells his good friends many, many things about Paris. In Paris, says Henri, there are thousands of buses. Here, in Reboul, there's only one. Henri and his friends like to play in the park in Reboul. The park has only 5 trees, 1 squirrel, and a little gray church in the middle. In Paris, Henri says, there are many beautiful churches. There are thousands of trees. There is a whole zoo just full of animals. For the many, many people of Paris to see. There are not many people in Reboul. There is Monsieur Manger, the baker. There is Monsieur Gogi, the mailman. Monsieur means Mister in French. And there is Madame Crème, who has the cow. Madame in French means Mrs. And George, that's me, who drives the bus. And a few more. Oh, how Henri wants to see Paris. So, one day, he cannot wait any longer. So off he goes. He takes some cheese, a carrot, and a piece of bread in a paper bag. Henri also takes a pencil and a piece of paper with him. He will make pictures of Paris for his friends. Henri walks, and he walks. He sees a cow eating the grass. And a bird eating a worm. After a while, Henri gets tired. Oh, and he's hungry too. So, Henri stops to eat his own lunch. Now I will sleep, says Henri, but how will I know which way to go when I wake up? I know, says Henri. Henri's very smart. And he puts down his pencil with the tip of the pencil pointing on the road to Paris. Now, says Henri, when I wake up, I will know how to go. The pencil will point the way. And Henri goes to sleep. While he sleeps, a little bird sees the pencil in the road. This pencil is just the right size for my nest, says the small bird. And the little bird takes the pencil off to his nest. But the bird is very little, and the nest is very little too. The pencil is too big for the little bird's nest, so the bird drops the pencil back on the road, just about where Henri had put it. Just about. At last, Henri wakes up. It is getting late. He must hurry to Paris, but which way is Paris? Henri looks at the pencil. Now Henri knows how to go to Paris. He will follow the tip of the pencil. The bird watches Henri. Henri walks. Soon, he sees a city. Ah, says Henri, Paris. Like Reboul, says Henri. Henri goes into the city. He sees a park. In the park, there are 5 trees, 1 squirrel, and a small gray church. What a pretty park, says Henri. It's just like the park we have in Reboul. A bus stops at the park. It's the only bus in sight. Who gets off the bus? Why, Monsieur Manger, the baker, Monsieur Gogi, the mailman, and Madame Crème, who has the big fat cow. And a few others. Everyone is in Paris today, says Henri, just like me. Henri sees a street. It is a street just like his street in Reboul. Henri walks down the street. There, at the end of the street, is a nice house. It is little. It is white. 3 boys are playing outside the house. What are their names? Why, it's André, Jacques, and Michel. They are Henri's 3 friends. Henri opens the door of the house and goes in. There are flowers in the window and a good soup on the stove. Henri's mother and father are inside the house too, and they smile at Henri. Oh, Mother, says Henri. Hello, Father, says Henri. It's nice to see you again, but do you know something? I am just as much at home in Paris as I am in Reboul. What do you think of that?
Maharis? Who's that? George Maharis. I was totally wrong. Wow. Not Dick Gautier. You know, when you blur your eyes, he looked like Dick Gautier, but George Maharis. Satan Bug, Route 66, Exodus, The Happening. Wow. It's not a lot of TV stuff. I was wrong. It totally looked like. Anyways. He's on Search for Tomorrow. Yeah. Once, you know, lots of single appearances on The Bionic Woman, Police Story. He was on Fantasy Island a bunch of times as 6 different characters. Wow. See, because I was going to say Dick Gautier, you know, would show up on like Love American Style and Love Boat, and yeah, he was kind of a handsome character actor, but yeah. I was young, so back in the day, so I don't remember him. I don't remember George Maharis. I hope you'll forgive me. In the meantime, let's learn about space station, environment, and mission simulation.
1963. Since human performance is always influenced by the surroundings and the environment in which one lives, the General Electric Company felt it necessary to duplicate faithfully, for its 4-man space station simulation test, a cabin which would be similar to that which design studies have indicated might be included within space stations of this general class and configuration. The cabin developed for the simulation program was 12.5 feet in diameter and 24 feet high. It was separated into 2 compartments. The lower living compartment was designed to convey a feeling of spaciousness and to maximize storage volume for necessary equipment and supplies. Pull-out drawers containing food for the 30-day mission were placed above the countertop. A small 2 cubic foot freezer accommodated diet supplements such as butter, several steaks, frozen apple pies, and tomatoes. A 0G type water dispenser was used for reconstituting freeze-dried foods. The lower bunk served as a lounge and supplemented the upper bunk, which was used for the 6-hour sleep shifts. The lavatory contains a shower, wash basin, and toilet. The center of most activity on the upper deck was the vehicle system's instrument panel. This panel was the result of a design study of space station display and control requirements. Specific behavioral tasks were located adjacent to the main instrument panel. These tasks were used on a daily basis for the measurement of crew performance. The cabin was moved from the manufacturing area into one of the 3 39-foot diameter space environment simulators in operation at Valley Forge. This simulator contained the test artificial atmosphere. The atmosphere chosen for evaluation was 7 psia, composed of sea-level oxygen partial pressure with nitrogen as the inert diluent. This choice, the result of a detailed study relating structural penalty, leakage loss, fan power, fire hazard, and extravehicular operations, appears to be the best compromise between engineering, physiological, and operational requirements for such space stations. In order to evaluate the physiological effects of the 7 psia atmosphere, a medical test program was designed. Physiological tests were separated into 2 categories. The pre-flight tests were made to establish baseline data on each subject prior to entry into the cabin. A similar battery of post-flight tests was conducted immediately upon exit from the cabin before substantial physiological readaptation to the Earth normal environment could have occurred. The second category included those measurements which could be taken on a daily or periodic basis by the crew during the flight
and which required equipment that could readily be expected to be contained within a space station. In addition, laboratory analysis of blood, urine, and feces provided data for the calculation of nitrogen, calcium, and water balance. The majority of the activities associated with these measures was contributed by the personnel and facilities of Temple University Medical Center. This joint participation of General Electric physiologists with Temple's clinical and research specialists in the areas of pulmonary, renal, and cardiovascular functions permitted an exceptionally extensive biomedical evaluation of the effects of this environment upon man. Each crewman underwent 4 days of testing at the Temple University Medical Center prior to the test. The extensive clinical study involved history, physical exam, routine hematology, and urinalysis. A variety of blood and urine chemistries, extensive ECG studies, audiometry, and a careful ophthalmological exam, including perimetry, were performed. The workup included complete pulmonary function studies, cardiac output by dye dilution, and venal clearance evaluation. Each of these tests was repeated after completion of the flight. In addition, Temple personnel trained the crew in the technique of venipuncture, thereby permitting blood sampling during the test. 24-hour medical surveillance was provided in the control room during the test. Using closed-circuit television and the communication system, coupled with the daily in-flight data readout, physicians on duty closely monitored each subject on a continuous basis. Subjective data of health, well-being, morale, and receiving its final briefing just prior to the beginning of the test was selected from 60 male volunteers, all of whom had professional backgrounds and experience in engineering. The crew, 4 in number, represented an average of 10 years engineering experience. Their backgrounds included either aviation or nuclear submarine experience. The stringent physical examination and the results of a battery of psychological tests and depth interviews indicated that these men represented a healthy, stable, intelligent, and highly motivated group. Entry into the 39-foot simulator was accomplished through the airlock. An environmental control system was constructed which regulated the gas composition, pressure, temperature, and humidity. Because the space cabin was not sealed, this ECS system ventilated the entire simulator chamber. The success of any complex program depends to a large extent upon the performance of a team of supporting personnel. Those individuals in this test who served as test monitors had control over all test activities. The role of the monitors was maximized in order that a high degree of task and equipment programming flexibility could be realized. For example, the monitors had control over all subsystem conditions, providing the opportunity to judge station management performance. Each task was controlled individually, providing programming latitude for such events as scheduled emergencies and equipment failures. Task panels were used for the evaluation of crew performance. A total of 11 basic psychological tasks designed to probe many aspects of behavior were used. These involved several types of vigilance behavior.
What happened? Where'd it go? Why did it stop? I guess that's all we had. Alright, what time is it? In the meantime, let's learn about firefighting for householders. Are you a householder? Maybe this will pertain to you.
Flash occurs. Can start fires in electrical circuits. You must act fast with small fires. There are 3 ways. Blast wave. The blast. These smokers and from broken gas pipes and furnace lines. You may have access to chemical fire extinguishers. This watertight, you may have to fight more than one fire, and you would require more water than these extinguishers hold. A garden hose will deliver a can fight the blaze in awkward places. Fires may also start up on your roof. Here's where the backpack extinguisher comes in handy. Use a ladder if you can't reach the fire from a window. Climb with your body balanced. Then both hands will be free to use in fighting fires in places difficult to reach. Certain the fire is out. Dig to make sure there are no smoldering embers to flare up again. Even buckets of sand and water may save your home. Sand thrown on burning oil on a flat surface will cut off the air and smother the fire. Sand is also safe for electrical fires. When this gas, do not breathe these vapors for long in a...
At home, you can effectively defend yourself.
Elsie, where are you?
I'm closing off the upstairs.
Good. Get down from there as soon as you can. Close all the windows, draw the blinds, and pull the drapes in front of them. That'll keep out fire sparks and glass splinters if the windows break. Close all the doors behind you, too. We've got to make this place practically airtight. Check everything here that might cause fire. Complete coverage is what you're after. The light colors reflect the heat and protect you from flash burns. It's better to wear coveralls because they're loose, and I can take them off and leave them outside in case they become contaminated.
The heavier the claw,
The possible military objective. We're well protected from the window, too. Yes, sir. Even if a bomb blew the house over, we'd have a pretty good chance here in the basement.
the walls can never be too thick. Now, children, I want you to sit down here against the wall. That's it. Now, crouch tight up against it.
Just seen have deliberately been made slower in order to bring home to you what precautions might be taken under ideal circumstances. When the alert is sounded, of course, you might not have time to do all of these things. Most important is to take cover in the basement, the center of a building, or in a doorway. But wherever a substantial underground shelter is available, it provides the surest, safest possible protection against atomic attack.
We aren't even going to budge for about an hour. After that, we may have to wait another 24 hours before we even think about going outdoors. That radioactive mist will settle on everything, contaminate everything. It went straight up into the air. The terrific heat makes it do that. And I don't think we're close enough to ground zero for the radiation to have even touched us. Elsie, you'd better tack those blankets up around the windows so that we can keep the house warm. I'm going outside to see if the house has been damaged by fire. If we're all right, I'll have to check the neighborhood.
Will you be all...
If there are any fires, honey, they're just ordinary fires, and we're supposed to help stop them. Children?
Someday your life may depend on it.
That was a mess. It started off with firefighting for householders. Then spliced in the middle was You Can Beat the Atomic Bomb, which is another civil defense film. And then did they splice then back the ending of firefighting for householders? I couldn't identify. That was crazy. So this was not from my collection. This was from a fellow collector who must have maybe he got this on eBay, or maybe he compiled it. I don't know, but I recognize the middle part because I do have that film. But yeah, I heard the change narrator, and I was like, what? And I looked, and I was like, wait, why are they drawing the window? Why are they drawing the curtains and making it airtight and then going down to the basement? I would say don't do that if your house is on fire. Oh boy. So I've been showing drawings that these kids have made of me, and this is the latest one. I Heart Films. That's me holding on to a film, and I like that there's the strip itself. You can see little tiny frames and little tiny sprockets, and it's written on the can, AV Geeks, and yeah, so great. Anyways, thanks for tuning in today. Those last two films were kind of like, whoa. But the color on that NASA one was beautiful. And I do echo your, those poor guys were like, they got prodded and poked and drained of vital fluids, and they're not even going to be an astronaut. It's just like, yeah, hey, we're looking for somebody. Yeah, we'll hook you up. We'll give you a catheter, and we'll just see what happens. And you're not even going into space, not even remotely related to that. So I think the term is unsung heroes who did all that work. Well, thank you so much. You guys are my unsung heroes. And please hit the thumbs up, even though you might have been baffled by what you just saw. Just kind of saying that you like what we did helps. Also, if you feel up to it, you can buy some coffee at ko-fi.com/avgeeks. We drink coffee here. That is what keeps us sane in a film world gone mad. So everybody have a great rest of your day. I Heart Films, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care.